How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Friday here on the show, and you know what that means. We got a very busy weekend. The Ric Flair's final match pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. SummerSlam coming up on Saturday. GCW, New Japan. We got SmackDown tonight. We got Rampage tonight. And much, much more. So we got a lot of lineups to get into on the show today. We'll tell you what's coming up. What are you going to watch, everybody? 425-780-7566 is the text message line, 425-780-7566. Let me know what you're watching this weekend, what you're interested in, and how you think SummerSlam may or may not change with Vince McMahon out of the picture and Triple H now taking over the Vince McMahon role. We have also got tons of updates on AEW injuries. Who is hurt? Who is not? Who is cleared? Obviously, it is not an extensive list because there's a lot of people hurt. And there's a lot of people cleared. So we'll give you some updates on all of that. Plus, a lot of questions have been asked about whether or not AEW contracts can be extended in the case of injury. And we have the answer as a result of Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, so we'll tell you about that here today. We've also got ratings, AEW Dynamite ratings. We've got updates on Sasha and Naomi, and we have got plenty more. Once again, if you want to text us, 425-780-7566 is the text message line. Bryan at WrestlingObserver.com, at Bryan Alvarez on Twitter. Mike Sempervive is going to join us after the break, and we'll kick it off with a look at this coming weekend because there is definitely a lot to talk about. Back in a moment, Wrestling Observer Live.
Hey there, everyone. It is Denise Salcedo. I am back with another commercial break, and this time I got some games for you all here today. But playing with me, you guys know him from the Brian, Vinny, and Craig show. Craig Proper. What's up, Craig?
Hi, how are you doing?
First game that we are playing is Can You Spot the Difference? I'm going to give you 30 seconds per photo to spot the difference. Craig, are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to get.
Can you spot the difference?
Back at the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Well, it is a very busy weekend here as SummerSlam is taking place on Saturday. That's tomorrow, everybody. We got SummerSlam. And at this moment, we have 8 matches announced for the show. Obviously, there is a SmackDown show tonight. Did I say SmackDown SummerSlam?
I think
Am I on game today? SmackDown's tonight, SummerSlam's tomorrow. Anyway, Logan Paul versus The Miz. Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's title. Bobby Lashley versus Theory for the United States title. Pat McAfee, Happy Corbin. The Mysterios versus the Judgment Day in a no disqualification match. Remember how cool that Rey Mysterio thing was on Monday, and he got to talk about his career, and his son was there, and they celebrated, and everything was great, and then he got beat up? What if they're actually going to do that Dominic turn? If the Dominic turn doesn't happen on SummerSlam, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. But otherwise, we have got Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. The Usos versus the Street Profits for the tag team titles, with Jeff Jarrett as special guest referee. And we've got Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, last man standing, for the undisputed Universal title. And, of course, Austin Theory has vowed that he will be cashing in after the match. So I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow. It is the first ever post-Vince McMahon SummerSlam. So what will we go with? What will we change? What programs will we start? We're going to see tomorrow night. You excited, Mike?
Sure. Totally excited about everything.
You sound like it.
Yeah, who do you think Seth Rollins' opponent is going to be?
I talked about it the other day. I think it's going to be Ziggler.
Did we talk about it on this show?
Yeah. Sure did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it's Kevin
Sure
Owens.
did.
I don't think it will be, but I would hope
we'll
it would
see.
be Kevin Owens. I'm ready for a Kevin Owens breaking away from Ezekiel and Elias and all that sort of stuff. I think you've gone as far as you could do with that. He's been gone for a little while. Why not? You know, if you want to shake things up, there's a guy that you can rely on. He's a guy that's willing to do anything for you. He's a guy that's over. So to insert him into some sort of mix on both shows, preferably, because in my magical fantasy land at some point, we will be seeing Walter on the regular on Raw and all that sort of stuff, like mix it all back up again. But at the very least, you know, Owens coming back, he and Rollins would be fun for sure.
Well, let's talk about these AEW injuries, because I got a lot of updates here for everybody. So first off, AEW is able to extend a wrestler's contract when they've been out of action due to injury. Dave Meltzer addressed the issue Friday's edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. If you're wondering if, when guys are out of action, if AEW can extend their contract like WWE does, their contracts do allow for that, and it has happened, he wrote. Probably the most notable example of WWE freezing a contract involves Rey Mysterio in May of 2014. Mysterio's contract was set to expire, but WWE extended it by a year due to the time he missed while injured. The company eventually granted him his release in February of 2015. He began performing for AAA and later Lucha Underground afterwards. So yeah, he actually took years off of WWE, but still celebrated his 20 years of WWE on Raw Monday. WWE's ability to freeze a contract also applied to Bryan Danielson's status with the company in 2016. And, of course, the whole situation there was Vince McMahon told Danielson he wouldn't release him. Worse, He couldn't even sit patiently by, let his injuries heal, get in shape, and wait for his contract to expire. WWE, in its contracts, has the right that if a wrestler is injured for a considerable length of time, they can freeze the time frame of his or her contract. The time left on the contract does not start rolling until they are ready to work in the ring and fulfill it as an active wrestler. Daniel's time was frozen on his contract until he could return. But the Ice Age would never end since he would never be cleared to return and fulfill that time left. So really the only way he got out of his contract was he actually got himself cleared to return, finished out the contract, and then left and went to AEW. So that was the situation with Bryan Danielson. And so here we go. Ready? Dante Martin, according to PW Insider, has a knee injury. He was on crutches backstage and at the hotel. Severity of the injury and Martin's timetable for return is unknown. Of course, if you watched the match, he was selling his ankle and his knee afterwards, and so yeah, he's hurt. Dax Harwood has a torn labrum, and the match against the Briscoes at Death Before Dishonor made things worse. Dax Harwood is the latest AEW wrestler working with a torn labrum, wrote Dave. After the Briscoes match, he came out of it with swollen eye, a stiff neck, and a bad shoulder that was made worse. Daddy Magic is out of action with a shoulder injury. Also suffered at Blood and Guts. The word is he is going to attempt to rehab it and not undergo surgery. So that's where he was and wasn't on Wednesday night for that Dynamite show. We've also got Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, both still out of action. So even though they announced that they were going to return on the show Wednesday, they're returning in a television role, but neither of them have been cleared. So they're really making sure that Adam Cole is 100% before he comes back, because he was injured in the Joe match, and then he came back and was immediately injured again. He already had a torn labrum, and they don't want him coming back and immediately getting injured again. So he's going to be out still for a while. I was told he is getting better. And then Kyle O'Reilly also is probably going to be out for a little while. So lots of injuries. That's the latest there. And on the subject of injuries, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, apparently this most recent set of WWE tryouts, this was the set of tryouts where a lot of NIL folks showing up, trying to get deals, and no independent wrestlers allowed, anything of that nature. The word is that this is probably the last time this is going to happen. They're not getting rid of the NIL program, but this idea of no independent wrestlers, all NIL folks, Lash Legend and folks like that, you know, Ivy Nile and I think some of the... Anyway, point of this is there were a lot of injuries at this set of tryouts. There were several concussions. There were a lot of folks trying out that got hurt. It's a blind leading the blind. I mean... So anyway, it looks like the days of all college athletes, all attempting to get NIL deals, no independent wrestlers, it appears that's probably over. And with Vince McMahon out of the picture, hopefully we'll go back to the sort of recruitment we were doing when Triple H was in charge of NXT, and he was open to using big names on the indie scene, open to using guys from Ring of Honor, or that came from Ring of Honor or New Japan or whatever. So, yeah, I heard a lot of injuries. I heard a lot of them, quite frankly, sucked, and that it was, yeah. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouths, but from what I heard, it sounded like it was a disaster. So that's the update on the latest WWE tryout.
At some point, they're going to have a come to Jesus on the NIL things anyway, because they signed the Kavinder sisters, who everybody signed because they were really pretty, and they were basketball players at, oh God, what was it? Stanford, I believe, somewhere out west in the Pac-12. And I figured they would break them out for WrestleMania or something like that, and just to say they were there, and they never did that. And you're paying these folks with the hope that after college they're going to want to choose to become WWE wrestlers, and it's like there's something about it that just doesn't make any sense to me. because there's a lot of this where it's like, I mean, if I'm a high school kid going into college and I'm in college and I'm an athlete and I can now pimp my likeness out, I think that's great. But for WWE, like, you're going to have to see a return on this, and I don't know if it's we'll have to see. I mean, they signed, what was the kid from Oklahoma State who left school, AJ Ferrari or whatever his name is? You know, he's on an NIL deal. They have a couple, but it's like, why even do this? Why not just wait till their college career is done and then try to recruit them that way, the same way you've always done it? I don't see where...
Because they don't want AEW hiring them.
But the whole thing is you're signing a college kid for their NIL. There's nothing in that deal that says they have to become WWE wrestlers or they even have to try out. Nothing. So there's really no way for them to be stopped.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
Friends. I can see you thinking, Craig.
Oh my goodness.
15 seconds have gone by.
Yikes.
Time is...
It's the star on Brett's boot.
Yes, yes. All right, you got it. For those of you who are watching the video, it is definitely the star that is missing in Brett's boot over on the right image. What is different in this picture? 22 seconds left. 17 seconds. We're down to the wire, Craig.
Oh my goodness.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You don't have it?
I don't.
You will notice that the logo on the turnbuckle is actually incorrect. On the left image, you have the regular photo, which is the WWE logo. I cropped it out, took those out, and I put the WWF logo. Can you spot the difference in these two photos? 18 seconds left.
Good night.
13 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Craig!
It's not his nose, is it?
It is actually his nose, Craig.
Okay.
You got it. It is the nose. I basically made it like larger and more round than it normally is. What is the difference in this photo? $19 seconds left. Oh no, Craig. 9, 8 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the right image, you will notice that there is a tattoo underneath CM Punk's leg. That is a fake tattoo that I added. He does not have that tattoo on his body.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So we also this weekend have Ric Flair's last match coming up on Sunday. StarCast is going on right now. It's all weekend. We've got the Roast of Ric Flair tonight. Saturday, it's panels. Bryan Danielson, Claudio, Horseman reunion. Bret Hart talking SummerSlam 92. We got the former Paige, Foley, Nash, Hardy, and more. Pictures, autographs, convention. Black Label Pro is running on Friday. GCW is running on Friday. New Japan is running on Saturday. Ric Flair's last match on Sunday. Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Tickets on sale $39 at RicFlairsLastMatch.com. Matches featuring MLW, NWA, AAA, Impact, New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW, and more. And I believe that, well, I won't say anything more about that. But RicFlairsLastMatch.com is a place to go if you want to watch all of the videos they have done building it up. The match is on Sunday, satellite, cable, Fight.tv. You watching that show, Mike?
What show's that, Brian?
Ric Flair's Last Match.
Oh, there were so many shows taking place. I wasn't sure if you meant the Black Label Pro, the Game Changer show or Ric Flair's Last Match. But yes, at some point,
between you and Vinny the last couple of days, holy smokes. I'll
be checking out Ric Flair's Last Match at some point. Look, I got to get caught back up on the G1 Climax. So there's going to be, at some point, in the next couple of days, I'm going to have to watch SmackDown and Rampage. We got SummerSlam is obviously a must-see because of doing this show. So that stuff I got to get caught back up on first when it comes to the G1. Then I'll worry about New Japan Strong and Black Label and GCW, both of which have very good shows all lined up for this weekend too.
All right, so a couple of other notes here. We'll go to some feedback here in a bit. A women's championship coming to New Japan. Stardom and New Japan have announced creation of the IWGP Women's Championship, the first ever title holder to be decided at the joint New Japan Stardom show on November 20th. They clarified on the Stardom English language Twitter account that the belt will primarily be defended at New Japan events, but could also be defended on larger Stardom shows. The IWGP Women's title will not replace the World of Stardom and Wonder of Stardom titles as the promotion's top belts. This comes on the heels of New Japan's announcement earlier this month that the company will begin to feature women's matches on New Japan shows in the U.S. with an eye on a genderless and more integrated scene in Japan. The company also announced earlier this month the joint New Japan Stardom show in November will feature, quote, around 2 mixed tag team matches. So it sounds like this IWGP women's title, it sounds like it will largely be a New Japan Strong title. I don't know that for sure. And then occasionally on the bigger New Japan shows, it will be defended there. So, hey, listen, people have been asking about this for a long time. And if you've got the opportunity to have a title and you can use some Stardom wrestlers, and really it's just kind of like the New Japan Strong Openweight title. I mean, you can use people from anywhere. I mean, if you can get some of the AEW women on the New Japan Strong shows, you can get women from Mexico, the indie scene, Impact. I mean, you can have a pretty solid women's division, actually probably a great women's division on New Japan Strong with this new IWGP women's title. So November 20th is the day this champion will be crowned.
There's such a huge hole that opened up with Shimmer not running that somebody, I wish with a whole lot of money that wants to throw it at wrestling, would actually come up with some sort of concept in the same thing, in the same way that Dave Parazak did, and come up with that women's promotion, because, boy, that would help things out, too. And I thought possibly because it was Mayu Iwatani who had the SWA title, which is one of Stardom's many belts, but that's the belt that gets a lot of international play, because whoever holds the title, the person who holds it, from whatever country they're from, no one else from that country can challenge for it. So we've seen, this is where Doudrop as Viper held that title. Tony Storm beat Io Shirai for it. Jamie Hayter's had that belt, Bea Priestley, and I thought they could actually take that title and make that the IWGP Stardom title. They've decided to not do that, but that's okay, because if this becomes a way where we see at least one women's match on a New Japan Strong show, and there are women that are able to get into that program and maybe learn some things from the New Japan coaches, I think that would be really, really cool. And whatever help they can obviously get from, whoever Stardom brings over, because I'm not sure how that's going to work, whether it's just going to be single wrestlers or coaches or however that's going to work. More synergy, the better when it comes to women's wrestling in this country, especially with that big vacuum being somebody needs to fill it. And unfortunately, I don't know who can, but this is Stardom coming over to the States is probably going to be our best bet.
We've also got this. Last Saturday's Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view brought in 36,100 buys, according to Dave Meltzer in the new Observer newsletter, which you can get, by the way, at WrestlingObserver.com. Read the issue yourself as a subscriber. And if you like it, you can also get all of our podcasts, as well as 13,000 archived podcasts, well over 1,000 archived Observer newsletter. Literally, virtually every Observer newsletter from 1991 through today is now archived. We got maybe a year or two remaining, but other than that, it's all up there. 27,000 of the buys came from streaming, 9,100 via traditional cable providers. This would be a big jump from Supercard of Honor, which did 19,200. So almost doubled the number of buys. Show was also the April show was also available for Honor Club subscribers. This show was not. It was also on a Saturday night against no big pro wrestling competition, while the Supercard show was on a busy Friday night during WrestleMania weekend. Meltzer also had the following notes about the crossover with AEW pay-per-view buyers. Of the fans who purchased Supercard of Honor, 39% also purchased Revolution. 68% of the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor buyers also purchased Forbidden Door, and 68% also purchased Double or Nothing. So that would mean that So for those of you, that are wondering, well, how many people that are watching, Dynamite actually know anything about Ring of Honor or are willing to buy Ring of Honor or anything like that? I mean, I think we can safely say, at least a third of them probably have little, if any, interest in Ring of Honor, and maybe significantly more because that's free television as opposed to looking at pay-per-view buyers. Digital number is important because the exclusive domestic distributor was Bleacher Report, which is a system owned by Discovery. The show generated probably in excess of $400,000 for that system. The idea is that number would seem a positive in Tony's attempt to make a deal with Discovery for a weekly television show based on the idea they can make money for Discovery doing multiple pay-per-view shows a year, along with the value of the programming itself. So for those of you wondering, well, why was he, I don't like watching all this Ring of Honor promotion and building up Ring of Honor pay-per-views on my Dynamite show. Well, there's a business reason for it. Although, as I mentioned on the Bryan Vinny show yesterday, everyone was raving about Wednesday's Dynamite, and there was a big difference. Wednesday's Dynamite as compared to anything over the last 2 months. And that is, it was the first show where they had nothing else to promote. They didn't have to promote a New Japan Ring of Honor Forbidden Door. They didn't have to promote a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. They only had to promote AEW. It was an AEW Dynamite show. There was nothing else on it. And it was a very, very focused show. They got to shoot a bunch of angles to set the table for the rest of the summer. They got to build up some things to head towards the all-out show. So that's, I think, one of the main reasons, besides the two great matches, that it was such a good show on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if Tony really wants to do something for Discovery, it would be coming up with an alternative solution for Bleacher Report, because it is not fun to try to order with them the replay 24 hours after, and a lot of the... It's just, I don't know what it is with Turner, and maybe they were waiting for the Discovery deal to go through. They need to step it up, because for any negatives of Peacock and any streaming option for that matter, man, they got to figure out something for them, because that would help, I think, immensely as well too. It just, most people don't want to order on pay-per-view, traditional pay-per-view anymore. But a lot of times it's easier, and a lot of people have had issues with Bleacher Report. That's what they've had to fall back to do, unless they have, the IP gimmick where they can then go ahead and order through Fight TV. So, Dave's usually on in this segment. He's not on today, but you know what? 15,000 words on Vince McMahon, an incredible article in this week's Observer newsletter.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
It is Denise once again with Craig, and we are hanging out here playing some games. I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to show you an image for 45 seconds. There are a total of 33 wrestlers in this image. How many you remember afterwards, after I take the image off? So here we go. 45 seconds on the clock. And time is now up.
Okay.
So, Craig, what do you have for dinner today?
What did I have for dinner today?
Yeah,
I haven't eaten yet, so
okay.
I'm gonna do some steaks here in a few minutes.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Marcel says, Brian, you could tell it was an AEW only show because Excalibur got through promoting everything without having to reach for the oxygen tank. That's true. He only had to promote Dynamite and Rampage.
Imagine how much easier his life would be if they didn't tack on an extra name to every single TV show. Like, I mean, Fight for the Fallen, Fighter Fest. What's the new one we got coming up? What's the Rumble at the...
Quake at the Lake.
The Quake at the Lake. Sure, why not? If you did Beach Break in Cleveland, which gave us the incredible moment of Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs standing by the lake in ski gear, and that was I don't get why everything has got to be subtitled now. You know, I could understand if it was a pay-per-view, but people are kind of pushing back on that when it comes to all the indies out there who name their shows after album titles and movies and lyrics from songs and everything else. I don't know why AEW seems to be doing it every week as well.
Fight for the Fallen on Wednesday, 976,000 viewers, up 7% from the prior week. Largest audience for Dynamite since July 6th, 18 to 49. Second on cable, .33, up 3%. MLB game between the New York Yankees and New York Mets finished first with a .50 rating and 2.1 million viewers. Dynamite even or up in every ratings category. Biggest increase, males 12 to 34. Huge increase of 53.9% to a .20 rating. Dynamite's best rating in that category since May 18. Maybe it's 12 to 34 males that don't like all that blood. Is that possible? Compared to the same week in 2021, Dynamite down 11.9%. They announced a barbed wire match, barbed wire everywhere last week, and those 12 to 34-year-old males were squeamish. But they came back this week.
That's the soft generation that we've raised.
Yes, these Generation Z. Come on.
They must eat Domino's pizza. They don't have the stomach for it, you know? They don't even cut their pizzas with a blade anymore. They just pull it apart lightly. Just, come on, kids. That's what happened. Nick Gage just ruined everything for them. 12 to 34. As they caught one Nick Gage, things have never been the same.
WWE expected to make amends.
Brian? Have you? Have you ever been to a baseball game? Yankees Mets could be a preview of the World Series. And I've got to know, have you ever been to a baseball game? Because I would figure you'd be bored out of your mind like 10 seconds into it.
I have been to a baseball game.
Did you like it?
I ate a hot dog, so I enjoyed myself.
Was it a vegan hot dog or was it a real,
only
honest,
ketchup?
Just pork and chicken, nasty, like real baseball hot dog?
Bro, listen, I have never in my life, not one time, a single time ever eaten a vegan meat product. Never. Not one time. No.
Why not?
If I'm going to eat a wiener, I'm going to eat the real 100% beef version.
By the way, we need to seal up some more things about the NDA after the show, but get back to what you were talking about.
WWE is expected to make attempts to reconcile with Sasha Banks and Naomi.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's kind of up in the air, Dave said. I mean, they're gone. Last I heard was there would be attempts made to reconcile, especially with Vince gone. It's up in the air. I don't think there's anything definite just yet. You know, I read these reports and I mutter under my breath, just like on NXT with Kiana James. Is that her name? Kiana James? It's Kiana something.
James, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not Kiana Tom. She was on ESPN back in the day.
I tweeted it, everybody. Kiana James. At Kiana James _WWE. She needs a better Twitter handle. This is almost as bad as Vinny's. FO_V Verhi. Verhi. I don't know how to.
Football Outsiders, folks. The new guide for the season that is out now.
But if you go to my Twitter at Bryan Alvarez, you can in fact watch the video. What's wrong with the NXT women's division featuring Kiana James? The greatest. The absolute greatest. I'm hoping that actually by the time this week is over, I will have spent 30 minutes talking about how great this segment was.
Maybe we can both be happy and they'll team up Tiffany and Kiana together and then they can actually go vying for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships at some point.
I love when she talks about how her father, not her father, but Nikita Lyons' father.
Nikita Lyons,
her father was a rock star, and her mother a groupie. And that's why she says that explains her vocabulary. They cut to the shot of Nikita doing this just preposterous promo for the women's battle royal.
In the middle of the promo, can you do any of the motions like she can?
No, in the middle of the promo, they cut to a shot of Kiana James watching, and she's just got the most incredible look of disgust on her face, and they cut back. I loved this. I don't know if you guys understand my love for this segment. And then the scowl at the end. She just scowls. I'll report back with my findings. She scowls. Incredible. It's incredible.
Man.
Anyway.
Shaming that woman's mother for being able to know what the top of the tour bus ceiling looked like. You know what I mean?
Bro, what do we need?
Low.
What do we need Sasha and Naomi back for when we got Kiana James that can move up and take that spot on the main roster?
Grab that brass ring. Part of the women's revolution now that Vince is gone.
This person here says on the front page, Dwight Howard from the NBA was at the SummerSlam tryouts. Your thoughts?
Do
well,
you know
if he
who
was,
Dwight
I hope
Howard
he ended
is?
up okay. Man, oh man. I hope he didn't end up with a severe injury as a result of these tryouts.
Actually, I could see Dwight Howard ending up with a severe injury because he's such a goofball doing something at one of these tryouts. But do you have any idea who this guy is?
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about him.
Okay, he's 6'10". He's been.
Oh man, has he been hired yet? Have they hired him yet?
But he's also played in the NBA for a long time. So even though he's 6'10" and in good shape, he's 36 years old. So that could be,
Well, bro,
he doesn't
hold on a
fit
second.
into the
Hold on a
25
second.
thing.
Listen, I don't know anything about Dwight Howard, but I've heard the name, okay?
Yes.
I'm sure my wife has heard the name Dwight Howard. She has not heard the name Omos. So if Dwight Howard is 6'10", and this guy says if he worked, he'd work like Omos, bro, he's already, if he can work like Omos, then you may as well get rid of Omos and bring in Dwight Howard.
He can work better
It would
than
actually
Omos.
be. It would actually be an upward, because Omos is a tall guy that doesn't work very well. At least Dwight Howard would be a tall guy that people know that can work kind of
Dwight
poorly.
Howard was a very athletic big man. He was not obviously the size of an Omos or something like that, but guys the size of Omos usually in the NBA don't work well anyway. Shaquille O'Neal, being his size, was one of the great...
Bro, Shaquille O'Neal had one of the best first matches I ever saw in my life.
Well, and then he disappeared in the back of an ambulance. We still have not gotten the answer to exactly what happened to Daddy Shaq. It was Shaq magic when he got out of the back of that thing when they opened it up. But Dwight Howard he's old, but I can guarantee you, because he's such a goofball.
36 ain't old.
Well, and tell me about
Give me a break, Grandpa.
If he's willing to do something, I would probably say give it a shot, because the whole reason he did it is to cut the promo, and it's something that went viral, and that's great. But him being in WWE, that's not going to happen. But him making a special appearance at a time where they love people to make special appearances, hell yes. Why Omos is there other than the look of his size? I mean, that's it. You knew in developmental, you knew the day you signed him, he was not going to be Big Show. I mean, that's always, to me, that's the guy that you look at and you go, do you have at least enough footwork to be the Big Show when he was younger? That obviously wasn't the case, and he can't do anything, and they don't use him like 911. So I would be glad to see Omos go and see basketball players like Dwight Howard and other guys, if they're going to do that type of thing, use those guys, because you'll get a lot more attention for it as well, too.
This person here, it's actually Brandon in Portsmouth. He says, my Wrestling Observer Live prediction is writing on whether Theory successfully cashes in his briefcase or not. So for now, I am interested in whatever happens to Austin Theory at SummerSlam. Well, you would be the winner now, but bro, there's still 5 months left in this year, and a lot of crazy stuff can go down. So don't get overconfident if Theory successfully cashes in a briefcase and wins the title on Sunday.
Can you see him cashing in and losing? Because I can. Especially the way he was played out on Monday. I
got more on Dwight Howard. He will be at SummerSlam, front row.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, man.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. You know, I heard there were, the tryouts were a disaster, but I heard they might sign a few people just because you kind of have to.
I'm sure they had good.
You can't start an
some
NIL
raw athletes.
You can't start an NIL program and then, after the tryout go, they all sucked. We didn't sign any of them. You got to sign some people, even if they do suck. I mean, you can always, axe them later, quietly.
Well, that's how a lot of them will go if they end up getting signed up and then just disappear quietly off the roster again.
This person here says, I'll be watching SummerSlam, Rampage, SmackDown, and maybe Ric Flair's last match. Hey, this person thinks Dwight could be Seth's mystery opponent. I'd actually like to see that, to see if Seth could get a better match out of Dwight than he could get out of Omos, or the match that AJ tried to get out of Omos. Let's see. Brian, if Seth is looking for an opponent, any chance it could be Edge? Well, it could be Edge. That is possible.
I don't like that at all.
Edge is coming back as the rated R superstar, which at the time that began was a heel gimmick, but, it's nostalgia and everything. It'd be a babyface gimmick here, so it's possible.
Well, who's going to save the day for Rey Mysterio? And I know in the history of WWE, nobody saves the day for Rey Mysterio, but it just makes too much sense for if Edge is going to come back. Why would you do? I mean, to me, it's like that's like the Ziggler reason of facing Rollins. It's like, well, if Ziggler still got eyes on Theory, I can see him doing something to screw Theory over at some point during the show and not be tied in with Rollins. Conversely, I mean, flipping over to this, Edge should be the one to either avenge Rey because his son turned on him, or be the one to make sure that Dominic doesn't turn, and to go back and get some revenge on the guys who kicked him out of his own group. That to me, to bring him back for any other reason, I think it would be a waste.
This person here says, Brian, how would you feel if one of your daughters won the Texarkana title? You mean the Texarkana title they've been looking at on my mantle their whole little lives?
Uh-oh.
Why, I'd feel exactly like Taz. I'd be a proud father.
What if they grew up and dressed like Becky Lynch coming out there?
Well, if you were here, you'd realize that would be an improvement over what they wear on a regular day.
You got independent-minded kids.
People have asked me for years, would you want your children to get into wrestling? And I always said, oh God, no. Oh no, I can't think of anything worse than that. And as far as Paisley goes, I would not want to see her in wrestling. But for Hanalei, I mean, I've pretty much at this point, why not? Just why not? She may be the next Texarkana television champion at the rate that things are going.
Might be better than the GCW Ultra-Violence Deathmatch Championship that some kids may be looking to grow up with, that apparently missed the whole deal about Wahoo McDaniels and Dusty Rhodes and how great they were and just went right to the blade. But hopefully things work out well for everybody.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
Now that I cleared your mind of the image, how many of these 33 names do you remember? And go.
Okay, there were both the Bucks. There were both the Usos. There was Brody King. There was Malachi Black. There was MJF. There was Will Ospreay. There was Serena Deeb. There was Keith Lee. Scorpio Sky. Ezekiel. Mia Yim. I saw Seth. I saw Phoenix. And this is where it gets tough. Pac was in the middle. Andrade.
17. So you're at 17 right now.
Okay. Oh, man. I said Serena. You're evil.
It's amazing.
Oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna have to call it.
All right, so you were missing a total of 16. Now, that's okay, because I'm going to show you this image one more time. Someone has been removed and someone has been added.
Okay.
Here we go.
Alrighty. Elias has been added.
Correct. And with Ezekiel being removed.
Right.
I was trying to trick you on that one.
That's good. That's well played, young lady. Well played.
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try to watch a little bit of the G1 and also some of the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix, which is kicking off this weekend.
Yeah.
I want some stuff to talk to old Filthy Tom about on Monday. Tom's got another G1 block match coming up here after sadly suffering a defeat at the large hands of Lance Archer. So he's off to the races. 0-1. But, it really honestly doesn't matter all that much. Because what really matters is win or lose. At some point.
He brings you home
at
a
some
Rivera
point
jacket.
in the next year. That'd be cool, actually. But at some point in the next year, he will get to stand across the ring from Siri in one of these mixed tag matches.
Oh, my
And that's really all we're hoping for, right? Who cares about the G1?
That's kind of true, yeah. As long as, not that, maybe Micah's phone number. Maybe. But, other than that, yeah. I would be happy for him to do anything over there. Just remember to get Micah's phone number like I asked you to do, Tom. Please.
You're married.
Because I want to have her on the show, is what I'd like.
And your son is listening right now.
Yeah.
And you are a horrible father.
He's not listening. He's watching some sort of death match, something or whatnot, so.
Tell him not to gig. It's overrated.
I'm trying. Like I said, all that Crockett I showed him that said, this is wrestling, son, and he went right for the blade. He just saw everything, saw all that stuff, and went right for the blade.
Well, I'm going right to Moe's for some fish and chips. So, hey, thanks for listening, everybody. Have an exciting weekend. We'll be back with a lot of shows, talking a lot of different things. So, WrestlingObserver.com is the place to go. Shows, newsletters, all sorts of great stuff. And that's it for this week. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.